welcome everyone. As predicted, they're going to do an announcement just as I start because, as I stated, I am in fact doing this from a airport. Why would you not? But welcome to the What's New webinar for Patch My PC. I am going to try and stall until they stop talking, or I'll give it to Wow because he's got nothing to do at all in this webinar. He's here just to wait. Okay, let's see if I can get through before they come back on. Welcome to the What's New webinar for Patch My PC. My name is Brian Dam. I'm official position entitled as Patch Lover Extraordinaire. I'm just the agenda here is pretty quick. We're going to have Andrew Jimenez, our manager of application engineer. He's going to demo our new macOS feature that we GA just last week. He's also going to demo ARM, which I don't think is GA yet. But it is coming soon, and people are excited about that. Then we're going to hand it over to John Quirk, who's our Director of Product for Reporting, and he's going to show you some new and exciting things in Advanced Insights for ConfigMgr. And then lastly, we'll wrap up with Dan Cunningham, our Strategic Innovator and Leader for PSADT Deployment Toolkit, and he's going to talk about the latest release, and we'll talk a little bit about Patch My PC cloud support for PSADT. And then at the end, we'll let you come off mute and ask questions. We have the Q&A section, so if you want to make sure you get your question answered, be sure to use the Q&A. You can throw it in chat. We have some people moderating that, but sometimes the chat can get pretty fast, and I can't promise you get an answer. So if you really want an answer, look at Q&A, ask it there. And at the very end, we're going to have a giveaway that you need to stick around for and enter. So with that said, I hand it over to Andrew. Go ahead and talk to us about macOS and ARM.
Awesome. So if you are using Patch My PC Cloud, you may have actually noticed this recently. Let me share my screen. I'll give it a sec to show up because sometimes I know shares are slow. So yeah, if you've used Patch My PC Cloud recently, you may have noticed this new little icon show up next to some apps, which indicates that there is a macOS app available for that specific application now. The easy way to show all these is if you use this filter option, you can go macOS and hit apply all filters, and it will show you the macOS apps. We currently have 72 macOS apps in the catalog. We support PKG and DMG installers at this moment. So vendors that do bad installers like zips or tar.gzs, those aren't supported right now. We're looking into ways that we can support those in the future. But we have PKGs and DMGs in here when the vendors provide them. The workflow is very, very similar to how you would deploy Windows apps. I'll just go through it real quick here. You'll click on the app. You'll see this new macOS and hit deploy. The same options are available that would be available for Windows installer, except you can choose like if there's multiple package types or multiple architectures. You can do, this is a PKG, so you can actually do pre and post install scripts, role scope tags. We have our retention policy here as well. Next up is assignments. We have assignment options just like we do for the Windows apps, required, available, uninstall. We do not have update and place options at this moment. We're kind of leaning on Intune for everything, and Intune doesn't really have a way for us to handle upgrades like that. So what you'll want to do for typically, if you want to patch stuff, is you'll deploy these apps as required. Because I like to actually show it off, I'm going to do available, and we're going to see if Intune works with me and we can actually see the app on this Mac here once we're done. So I add an available assignment to all users. We'll hit next, and we'll go ahead and deploy it. Because this is my first macOS deployment, it is actually going to pop up and say, hey, we've noticed this is your first macOS deployment. Because of that, your device count is going to grow because now you're patching macOS devices. And this window here just lets you know. For most of our customers, we'll give you the amount of Macs that we found. And for most customers, it's going to be within your 10% budget that we give customers over the year. And so we'll take care of that. You'll be able to take care of that the next time you renew Patch My PC. I'll hit confirm here. You'll see that the app is deploying and in progress. While we wait for that, I'm actually going to head over to Discovery and show off Discovery. So our Discovery feature also works with macOS apps. So you'll see here that in this environment here, we've got a few macOS apps found. You can sort by number of installs, hopefully, yes, and see how many devices it's on. And you can hit the deploy from here and actually go through that same deployment process for these apps. I think I mentioned it before, but we have 72 macOS apps currently. And let's see the deployment. Okay, success. Now here's the real test. Let's see how long it takes for Company Portal to show this app. And I may just give up because I found the Company Portal on macOS is a bit slow. But we'll give it a minute or two and we'll see what happens.
Say it ain't so, Andrew. They're peak computer. Come on.
We thought Intune was slow on Windows, but macOS is much, much slower somehow.
Just went hold my beer.
Here's what we'll do instead. The other feature that is currently in private preview is ARM support on Patch My PC Cloud. ARM support for Patch My PC Publisher is currently in development, but we do have a private preview available for ARM support for Patch My PC Cloud. Similar to showing it, similar to filtering that you can do for the macOS apps, you can also do if you hit Windows and Architecture ARM, if you have the private preview enabled. I'm going to go ahead and show off these, and we have some ARM apps here. I'm going to do the classic 7-zip, the perfect app to show off every feature ever designed for app deployment is 7-zip. You'll see here there's a new ARM toggle, and we'll hit next. You have all the same options that you do with 64 and 32-bit apps. You have your save assignment options. I'll go ahead and add it available again, just so we can see it in Company Portal. I'll do all users again, just to save some time, and we'll deploy that. So there's an ARM app being deployed. And the beauty of having a Mac is that you also have an ARM device. So let's go ahead and open Company Portal on this VM I've got here. And we'll give Intune a minute here. Oh no, it's going to make me sign in. Come on. Okay. Thank goodness. No. Of course. Well, what I'll do instead is I'll show you in Intune what that looks like. Let me refresh this real quick. All right. So they both say success. Let's go ahead and Intune.microsoft.com. I'm going to have to log in here too, aren't I? Thank goodness. All right, we're going to go into apps. And
in case you want an Andrew, chat's giving you random command lines you can run at sudo. So, totally should just. I
actually have used those. I've honestly most of the time just resorted to rebooting it and coming back later. You can restart the daemon to make it go faster, but I didn't have that pre-prepared. So actually, I do, because I'm pretty sure it's in terminal. Here we go. We're gonna kill the daemon. There we go. We'll see if that makes it come back faster. But in Intune, you'll see that we have our 1Password. Oh, wait, which one did we deploy? Oh, this is macOS apps. It was 1Password that we deployed as a macOS app. You'll see it's a standard macOS app in Intune. We upload the PKG. We fill out all the info for you, just like we do for our Windows apps. And we're able to deploy it for you. The more interesting one is actually for Windows apps for 7-zip ARM. So for 7-zip ARM, we're utilizing, I'm just going to go to requirements. We're utilizing this new toggle in Intune, and we're saying install an ARM64. For our Intel 64-bit apps, what we're doing is we're actually enabling both 64-bit and ARM. We're actually planning on adding an additional toggle within the portal so that you can choose if you want 64-bit apps to install on ARM. We're also automatically going to block any 64-bit apps from installing on ARM if we know they have issues. So take WebView 2, for example. If you install Intel 64 WebView 2 on an ARM device, it'll completely just destroy Teams, and you'll have a bad time. We're going to block that from installing on ARM devices by default. So that's in private preview right now. We'll have that out. We're trying to make that a very short private preview. So we should have that out soon.
You've got a couple of questions, Andrew.
All right, cool.
The first one is if we're going to make integrations with other endians like Jamf.
So we're definitely dipping our toes right now with just Mac and Intune. We have an idea for integrating with Jamf that I would recommend people vote on and provide comments. I think if Mac support goes really well, we definitely will consider going into other MDMs like Jamf. I know Jamf is very, very popular. I've used Jamf before, and I prefer it to Intune when it comes to macOS. So it's definitely not out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah, it just, this is a question that's come up like throughout this, anytime we talk about Mac OS, and just for perspective, like the user voice was like 800 to 100 in favor of Intune. So, I mean, that's why we prioritized Intune. It doesn't mean Jamf isn't something we consider, but it was 8 to 1. So we went to market.
I see this other question. Can you explain why updates are not possible on Mac OS? I'm not understanding. So we will totally update the apps once you deploy them as required to your macOS devices. So once you deploy a device, an update or an app as required, when a new version comes out, we'll update that. We'll move the assignments just like we do for Windows. What we can't do is the smart updates like we do for our Windows apps, where we have a prerequisite, a script that runs that checks to see if the app is installed first. So in order to do updates, you just need to target the devices specifically that you want. So it's not that we had a lot of discussion back and forth on like, do we call this patching? It will update devices if you deploy required, and to devices, it'll update existing apps. However, it's not smart in that you can't like deploy the Mac updates to all devices as required, because it'll just install everywhere. So that's the difference there. So we're defaulting to universal when we can. But there is a filter on universal, and then you can do 64-bit as well. So 64-bit Mac OS. And we have a few. If you want to see, if you know that there are 64-bit versions of the Mac apps and you need them, please do let us know on the ideas. It's my understanding that Intel 64 Macs are on the decline, and knowing Apple's replacement cycles, they're usually pretty quick. But if you need a 64-bit app, please let us know. We are fully capable of adding it.
There's some more questions around notifications for users.
I see deferrals and notifications. Yeah. So this is it's all the built-in Intune features. As far as I know, what I've seen is, depending on the app, if the app is running, the install might not occur. For some apps, the install just runs and updates in place. We don't have an option to set up deferrals right now. Someone also asked about custom apps. We don't have custom apps yet. I think it will be relatively simple to add, but we kind of. I said I think, but the big thing is we want to differentiate it from what Intune already provides, because in Intune, it's basically drag and drop. And if it's a PKG, it's done. You don't have to do anything. So we would need something to differentiate our custom app from a Microsoft added Intune app. And there's not like many huge differentiators there to make it really, really worth it at this time.
I think on a high level, a very big difference between Windows and macOS is that in Windows, we're able to customize a lot inside all of those packages, and that allows us to do a lot more advanced logic than we are in macOS. In macOS, we're really limited to what Intune provides, and that's basically just providing the installer. So we can't do much of the additional complicated logic that we generally do for Windows apps.
There is one last question that I'd like to answer. It says, is the ability to do updates without being required coming? We're looking into ways to accomplish that, but again, we're very limited by Intune. So if we can find a way around it, we've thrown some ideas around on how we could do it, but we're not quite sure how we would accomplish that at this time.
Well, we were actually for full transparency, we really didn't think it was possible. We recently were slightly disabused of that notion, like literally within the last week and a half or so. That there may be a way. Specifically, we're talking about how do you update a install from an available that's done as available. We really thought it was impossible because it's not really possible in Windows without the stuff we have, but there might be a way.
So the primary thing that I wanted to cover today is that I lead the team that build the Advanced Insights reporting solutions here at Patch My PC. If you have been attending any of our more recent webinars, then you'll be aware that we've been working very hard on an Intune solution, which we will have much more to say about at the Ninjas conference in Switzerland in September. And then again, if any of you are going to come to Nashville for MMS, then I'll be at that as well with further exciting news. And I can answer any questions that you might have about Intune Insights, in Advanced Insights for Intune in this session as well. And I can certainly show you some of that if anyone is behind the curve and has specific questions. But the primary things that I want to talk about today are some new innovations that we have in our on-premise configuration manager solution, which is still in very active development here, and we work on this a lot, around Advanced Insights for Configuration Manager and Patch Insights for Configuration Manager. So just the quick headline view of those products for those of you who are not aware. Advanced Insights and Patch Insights are the same base installation code. They're both a reporting solution for Config Manager that sits on-prem, most commonly on your Config Manager server itself, and it reads data through your Config Manager database. And we use that data to paint this kind of experience. So what we're looking at right now on the screen is the Patch Insights interface. Patch Insights is freely available to anyone who's using Configuration Manager and the publisher today. So if you're using SCCM to deploy your updates, then you already own this that's on the screen today, and you can download that from our website, install it, and it'll just work. And so this is Patch Insights, which is a cut-down version of our Advanced Insights product, and Patch Insights is focused on reporting on software update compliance predominantly. So just as a quick overview, you haven't seen it before, details along the top about your Config Manager environment, how many devices you have in management, any updates that you may require that you haven't currently deployed. And this is from the Microsoft catalog, from the Patch My PC catalog. And if you happen to have any of the other catalogs installed, like the ones from Dell and Adobe and those kinds of things, it'll also report on your compliance against those just out of the box. We'll show you details about your Config Manager client versions and how badly you're doing at keeping them up to date. Some information about Windows and its support status. And some of these charts are more data dense than others. So, for example, you can pivot this one to build versions and the servicing channels and those kinds of things. We're going to show you the same kind of support information for your Office 365 applications that are installed on your machines. Some information about your software update compliance scanning. So if devices are scanning and failing, then we'll surface that data here. And then we're also going to give you a quick overview here of your least compliant computers and your least compliant updates. So just at a glance, out of the box, this just works and you'll be able to see all of this data. And then we have further dashboard pages inside of Patch Insights, which give you more detailed visibility of your software update landscape. So, for example, we'll show you your software update sync status. If you've got multiple subs, then we'll show you all of those in here. If you want to look at your compliance against previous month deployments, then you can see that. So, for example, here, if I want to know why I'm only 65% compliant against my May updates when I would expect to be better than that now, then I can drill into that individual month, see the overall compliance of each update which I deployed in that month, and then drill further and if I want and see the overall status of that at an individual device level. So the idea of Patch Insights is that you're supposed to be able to take a high-level view of a particular thing and then always drill in to see additional data if there's something that's of interest. And then we show you a bunch of other views of your software update compliance data. This is individual updates and their overarching compliance. You'll most likely be using software update groups, and so we'll show you your software update group compliance. We'll show you details about your software update deployment compliance. Sometimes security teams are more interested in deployment success than compliance success, so we'll show you that info here. Some information about your Windows operating system and a little bit of a verbose view of everything that's happening from a software update deployment state right now in your environment. So any of you who are using Patch insights today in your environment will have already seen all of that. But what I wanted to show you today is something new which we've added to Patch Insights. So this is in the new version of Patch Insights, which we're going to be shipping tomorrow. So this will be available for download from Patch My PC tomorrow. But this new dashboard is designed to show you information about everything that Patch My PC is providing in your environment today, essentially in real time. And so we're going to show you some information just about your license. So here you can see that I've got Patch My PC Enterprise, and I'm licensed for 100 clients, and I can see details about when my license expires and those kinds of things. I'll show you all of the updates which you have published from the catalog, everything that's synchronized and published in the catalog. And if any of those are superseded, so maybe they could be removed now, or any of them which are metadata only, then we'll show you details about that. And again, as with everything we saw previously, you can always click through for further detail. We're going to show you all of the activity that we've carried on in the last 30 days. And again, click through so I can see every install, every download, every failure to install, just a kind of overarching view of every action that we've taken from a PMPC perspective in your environment as far as updates are concerned. And we're also going to show you details about applications that you're publishing. So if you're an Enterprise Plus, you're not using Enterprise Patch, then then you'll be able to push applications from your publisher as well. And so we'll show you details about that. And again, you'll be able to see all the info about those when they were published and if they've been modified and that kind of thing. Then we've got both views of that data set. So here's a list of each of the updates in the environment and the overarching stats about those, so how many have been successful and failed and that sort of stuff. In the Patch My PC update activity, this is all of the individual clients that have any kind of status about any update that's been deployed. So you get a really quick view of everything that's rolling right now. So a lot of this is information that was somewhat available before, but you had to sort of go drilling and filtering for it and really sort of digging into the deployments and the update statistics. And so we wanted to present it in a more consumable fashion. But we've got some other stuff down here which is kind of new. So what we're showing you here in this dispensable updates is these are updates which you are syncing into your environment, but you no longer have any presence of on your devices. So if you've got applications which you previously used to patch but are now decommissioned, then these are just taking up space in the environment, and so they could be deprecated. And so we'll give you information about this particular machine, this particular update. We'll show you all the metadata, whether it's in deployment or not, and all of those kinds of things as you'd expect, and then enable you to make decisions about whether you should go and remove those from your WSUS manifest or take them out of the publisher sync. And then you'll notice that in the bottom right-hand corner, there's another chart which is not populated, and this is because this data set is only available to premium customers because it requires our inventory extensions that are part of Advanced Insights and are not part of Patch Insights. So you won't get any data in this table if you are using Patch Insights today, if you're on Enterprise Plus, but if you have Enterprise Premium, then that will be populated. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to switch over to a tab that is running Advanced Insights and show you what that looks like. So Advanced Insights, as I said, exactly the same installation as Patch Insights, just controlled by your license key. So if you are an Enterprise Plus customer today, then we can provide you with a trial of this in your environment. And then once that trial runs out, it'll just fall back to Patch Insights if you inexplicably choose not to upgrade to Premium. The table that I talked about that isn't populated by Advanced Insight, in Patch Insights rather, what this is going to do is it's going to show us updates that you should be pushing into your publisher's configuration. So basically updates to applications which you have in your environment, which you have not yet chosen to patch through the Patch My PC publisher. So this is a similar kind of experience to if you went into the publisher and clicked the little scan ConfigMgr button. But it works in a slightly different way. What this is doing is actually code which we built for our Intune product. So this is a compliance scanning engine that runs client-side against our entire catalog and then brings the results back as part of hardware inventory. And what it'll enable us to do is if we run all the compliance rules that are part of our catalog to work out whether you have an application installed or not, and then we bring that compliance information back. So I've got applications in my environment, for example, the display link graphics adapter here, which sorry, the app pool's been torn down. Let me just refresh that. I've got a display link in my environment, which I am not currently patching via the publisher, and I should do so. And this will show me all of the machines which are currently have that application installed, and then I can make a decision about whether I should go and install that app because maybe they shouldn't be here, or whether I should go and actually add this to my software update sync so that I can move forward with it. And you can see that just here in this little test environment, there's 103 instances, and some of these are multiple versions and multiple architectures, so I'd still have to go and make some decisions about how I actually want to handle that. But it gives us some really good insight into where I could be doing a better job and getting more value from the Patch My PC product set than I'm currently getting today. So I would strongly encourage any of you to you'll get an email notification from our marketing guys about the release of the new version, but it will also be there in the on the download site from tomorrow late on UK time. And so, having mentioned that there's a new update coming, one of the things that we commonly hear people complain about, just shift that over there, is that it can be difficult to know when there is a new version available. So it's not a particularly sexy demo, so I've just made a little PowerPoint of it. But one of the things that's built into the next release of Advanced Insights, the one that has all the functionality that I've just been showing you for the Patch My PC dashboard, one of the other functions that we built in is we now have in-console notifications. And so one of the things that's going to enable us to do is to notify you when there is a new release of Advanced Insights right here in the portal and enable you to go do the upgrade. And so the way that works is like this. You can see just in the top right-hand corner now I have this new little notification icon. And basically what that does is when there is a new version published, we update some manifest that we have, and then you will get notification here in the portal that looks like this. So when you click on that little bell, you see this notification, a new version of Advanced Insights has been released. Please log on to the server. When you click on this notification, we have an entire notifications experience now. So we'll be able to ultimately use this to push more content as we've got more interesting things to talk about. But you can see here that basically you have the ability to close this and then it will go away and that kind of thing. This will pop up for anyone who's an administrator in the environment so that they can go and take action. Then what they have to do is they need to go to the server to actually do a thing. But we're trying now to automate this so that it's very low friction for you, our customers. So one of the things that the new installer will do is add a little run key in onto the Advanced Insights server. All that run key does is at log on, it runs a new little updater wrapper that we've built. And that data wrapper is going to call out to our site to see whether there's a new version of the Advanced Insights install available. And we're also going to stick a little shortcut on the desktop for you so that if you don't want this run key in place, you can still use this checker. And then basically what it's going to do is it's going to go and check to see whether there's a new version available. And if there is, then it will automatically download that and kick off the install. It's still interactive because you may want to modify your certificate or something along those kinds of things. So you will have to click next, finish, but it is an automated process now. So hopefully that's it's something that was a big ask on our user voice for quite a while. So hopefully that's something that's useful to you. I'm going to take a little break for a moment and see if there's any questions before I move on to just a few other little bits and pieces of new stuff that we've got in.
You're not going to believe this, John, but one of the questions is, are we getting this for Intune? Hard to imagine.
Yeah, so I'll if I have time, which I think I probably will have, then I'll give you a quick look at what our current Intune offering will look like. So our Advanced Insights for Intune solution is in private preview today. So we've got that in deployment at about 35 customers now, I think. and some of them deploying at significant scale. So we have customers with 20,000 seats running that now for us. And we will be moving through to public preview later this year, and then ultimately GA also later this year. So we do have that coming. I can show you that in a minute once I've finished with the on-prem stuff. So MSP reporting is not in our first release sprint. So when we GA, it will not be multi-tenant. We have an ambition to bring multi-tenant reporting, and it is something that we're interested in, but not on day one. Okay, so a few other smaller things that we've added in here. So you can see this is now advanced insights rather than patch insights. I've got the same patch my PC activity page as we saw before, but with the non-synchronized updates in it. There are some other bits and pieces of stuff. So we had a request that's been hanging around for a long time, actually, for some information about boundary groups. So we're going to show you details of all of the Config Manager boundary groups that you have in your environment now. You'll be able to click through and see which machines are in which boundary groups. And in particular, it can be useful to know where there are devices in the environment that have overlapping boundary groups. So maybe you've got a bit of misconfiguration there. And so we're going to show you that information in here as well. When I click through to that individual device, we'll also show you on the general device page which boundary groups the device is in, and whether it's internet or intranet connected. So that's a new little thing that we have added. We also had a request to add in some information about TPM configuration. So I think that's on the hardware tab. Oh no, that's not made it into this build. But we've added information about the TPM configuration as well. So that looks like this. Bring that over. So just a little screenshot of that. So in the TPM page, we'll show you all of the data that the Configuration Manager has for TPM. So if you want to be able to see whether whether it's enabled and company owned and all that kind of stuff, then we're surfacing that info as well. That was a user voice. So happy to be able to tick that off. We've also, for a long time, had a request for legacy package reporting. Obviously, we still use packages in preference to applications for deployment, particularly for where there's no installation routine, or we just want to provide configuration files and that kind of stuff. So the packages viewer now shows a list of all the packages we've got, any that we've got that are not distributed anywhere, so we can probably get rid of those. We're interested in where the source path has been hard-coded not to a UNC, because obviously that might cause us problems when it comes to shifting things around, and any that are going to update on a schedule. So where we've got packages that are automatically replicating on a schedule, we'll show you details about those as well, because that's possibly misconfiguration these days. And then, as with everything else in the environment, if there's additional information that we can bring in to show you about what the actual configuration of that package is and where there might be some interesting information about it, then you can click through and see a little bit more data there. So again, that was a user voice request. I think where there are deployments of these, let's just see here. Yeah. So we will show you. We'll show you details as well about what the package, what's the distribution of those packages looks like as well. So this is what that would look like if we have that information in the environment. So we'll show you the source path for it and which distribution points it's on and when that was last summarized. So for most detail for all of your packaging needs, and then. We fixed a few little bugs. There was, in particular, something that a lot of people had reported to us when we were talking about threat analytics. So there is a bug in the threat analytics dashboard today where the number of devices that were affected by a specific CVE was incorrectly reported particularly for things like Edge and Chromium and that kind of thing. So that has now been fixed. This build environment's got a problem with the Patch My PC stuff, but the other stuff is working live. And we've squashed a few other user voice things. So for example, you can now, if you do a search, then you can now search for more than just device manufacturers. So you can, I wrote that as well, but you can now search for monitors. So if you wanted to, one of the user voice requests was to be able to search for monitor manufacturers and monitor serial numbers. So we'll give you that capability now in global search as well. So you can search for all sorts of different properties in the Advanced Insights interface, and monitor manufacturer serial number is now one of those. So there's quite a few other bug fixes and performance enhancements and all those kinds of things in Advanced Insights on-prem. But the big ticket item really is that we've added in this activity dashboard, which is also available in Patch Insights. And so everybody who's got any installation of Advanced Insights should look to upgrade to the new version once that is released tomorrow. And then there were some questions about Intune. So I will just take a quick minute and show you some of that. So this is the Patch My PC portal. So you're familiar, those of you using the portal, with this kind of experience where you've got the app catalog and all of that kind of good stuff. And so what we are going to show you is some new capabilities that we have now around reporting in that space. So we did do a webinar on this last month, I think. So that is available on our website. But this thing is moving on apace. It is still not feature complete, but we're getting there. And our ambition basically is to provide the same level of capability as we have in Advanced Insights on-premise with Advanced Insights for Intune. So what we're looking at right here is visibility of our Intune reporting. So this is just getting data directly from the graph. So everybody, if you are an Enterprise Plus customer today, which the majority of our Intune customers are, then you will get this out of the box. It'll just work and it'll just light up once we GA this later this year. And this will just pull data out of your Intune environment. One of the things that I want to show you is that it is wicked fast. So these are live graph queries, but it's now I mean, it's only a very small environment, but it is building really, really quickly. And this will give you a similar kind of capability to what we were just looking at. So here you can see the different versions of Windows we've got in the environment. I can click through and see a list of all of those different devices. I can see a breakdown of their makes and names and who uses them and those kinds of things. One of the things that I'd like to show is that there's no Mac devices in here now. I think we might have offloaded our Mac devices into a different tenant, but it also supports Mac. So if you have Apple Mac devices or if you have ARM devices, then they'll just automatically show up in here as well, and you can see details about those. So we're looking at pulling in information from across the graph state, but in particular with a focus on software update compliance and device compliance and those kinds of things. So everyone on Enterprise Plus will automatically get this view. It'll actually look a bit different because we're building in some multiple tabs and more pages. But graph reporting will be natively as part of Enterprise Plus. But one of the things that we know from talking to customers quite frequently is that obviously the graph is missing a bunch of data, and so actually I don't want to demo out of dev for this. Let me just go to a live one. So Intune is missing a bunch of information which would be useful to us. And whereas with Advanced Insights for Configuration Manager, we spent most of our time doing a better job of presenting data that you already had, and then we basically just went to add a bit more information to that data set through our inventory extensions where we knew that things were missing. With Intune, that's not really the case. With Intune, a lot of that data simply isn't there. And so we're having to build that ourselves. And so there is a new Advanced Insight Patch My PC client, which we can deploy to our devices, which is going to bring in that additional data. So you don't have to deploy the client in order to get the Intune graph reporting that I was showing you. But if you want this more advanced reporting, so everything I'm going to talk about in the next 2 or 3 minutes, then this is going to be client derived. So the client is installed on all of the devices that you manage in the environment, and then we're going to bring in a bunch of more additional properties. So we're going to show you things like your memory configurations and details about the makes and models of your machines. We're going to bring in all of the different versions of Windows that you've got in the environment. We're going to show you the specifics of those machines and whose they are, and the other configuration that we have for that kind of thing. We're going to show you detailed software update compliance in exactly the same way as we have just shown you in the Patch My PC dashboard for Advanced Insights. We are running the same client-side compliance checks to bring in information about your compliance against Patch My PC updates, whether you're deploying them or not. So this is not discovered app inventory and that kind of stuff. This is literally doing client-side computation of applicability rules and then bringing that status back into the Patch My PC cloud. We'll show you the detail of these things. So I know Andrew loves 7-zip, and so here we'll show you the details about that 7-zip update, and then we'll also show you which devices in the environment are reporting needing it versus devices that have not scanned yet versus devices that don't need it. So here, this ARM machine does not require that. And we're going to show you that for a update perspective. We're also going to show you it on an individual machine perspective, so you can see which your least compliant machines are. When you click through to these, we're going to show you details about all the updates which are required on that machine versus the ones that it has, and give you the same kind of experience that you're accustomed to with Advanced Insights. And we're going to start to show you the same kinds of capabilities from a compliance reporting perspective for updates that are from the Microsoft catalog as well. So as you're probably aware, with the capabilities that you have with Windows Update for Business and AutoPatch, you can only get detailed compliance reporting out of that if you go into Defender and those kinds of environments. And so what we wanted to be able to do was to show you exactly the same kind of compliance experience that you're accustomed to with ConfigMan, but for devices that are no longer using Configuration Manager. And then we also want to show you a load of the capabilities that we know people have grown to really appreciate inside of Advanced Insights when it comes to a hardware perspective. So Advanced Insights will report on external monitors and on battery health and on disk health. So we'll show you things like whether your disks are healthy, whether your disks are failing, devices that are running out of battery capacity. So this one will no longer hold more than 29% of its designed charge. And so this could probably do with replacing. And we are building out the same kind of experience that you've come to expect around our configuration and capabilities when it comes to displaying this data, this sort of disparate data set that we have across a whole bunch of different capabilities. So we've got lots of information here about monitor configuration, because we know that kind of thing is important in support scenarios, battery health, disk health, those kinds of things. And we're building in more and more of these capabilities as we go along. So just a quick view there of what we're doing with Intune. But the key thing that I wanted to try and get across to all of you on the call today was around the work that we've been doing with Advanced Insights on-premise.
So I'm sure anyone who's interested has probably seen in the last couple of days, we released PSADT 4.1, and actually we subsequently released 4.1.1, 4.1.2, and finally 4.1.3. That was just to fix up a number of issues that occurred. However, just to go over some of the major changes, so I'm not sure if everyone will know this, but a good portion of you will. Anyone who's used or had tried to deploy something through Intune or through SCCM that needed to interact with the end user during the install portion would have probably come across a tool called Service UI. That is a tool that was released by Microsoft as part of MDT. It's a very, very old tool, and it's very, very unsupported. And it's also a fairly hefty security risk. What it does essentially is when you basically try to run an install through Intune, it runs a system. And when you try to when it tries to execute something in the user context, it basically creates a system level process as a user. And I can actually probably demo this. Might be better to do. Corey, can I grab control there for a sec? I want to kind of essentially simulate what happens in Intune. So if you are running an install, you run it as system, and Service UI essentially gives you that process on the system. Gives you that process on the user's context, so on their desktop. So to simulate this, I'm going to use PSADT. I'm going to run the command prompt. And so you can see here, I'm running a system. This is essentially how a process would be running from within Intune. And I'm going to run Git, which is a very typical application that developers use for GitHub and the likes. But the reason that this could potentially be shown as interactive is because you might want to let your developers configure each of the settings in here, and they could be different between different development groups. So this is a common thing that you would actually use Service UI to elevate, or to present to the end user. And if I could run through the install, I'm just going to click through a few things here. I'll start the install. What's important here is that I am able to actually interact with this. If it was running entirely silently, then that wouldn't be an issue. But in this instance, I can interact with this application. It has system level privileges, and so at the end, now this isn't going to affect every installer. It does affect a number of installers, and so this is where things get dicey. And was an issue. Was something that to display any of the user interface for PSADT, you would need to do the same thing. But if you click launch Git Bash here, if this was kicked off by Intune, I'm going to get this open HTML. I could just dismiss that. But over here, I'll type in CMD, and now I've got a full system level process that I have access to. So if this has been started by Intune, my deployment is run, and separately, it's just kicked off a separate command prompt where I have full admin rights to the end user or end user computer. So it's a fairly substantial security risk, and it's something that we wanted to get people away from using. So as part of PSADT 4.1, we have implemented an entirely new architecture that eradicates the need for actually using Service UI at all. It uses a client server architecture where we start up a process as system, and then we kick off another process running as user. Essentially, what happens is that stays secure. It stays running without permission, without privileges, and it communicates back and forth between the server and the client architecture. And essentially, it secures this whole entire process. As a result, you should never need to use Service UI again, and this is kind of a fairly big deal. We think this is going to change the game for how people actually do deployments in Intune. And this will work across any other software distribution platform as well. So the likes of Tanium Deploy, PDQ, Manage Engine, any other ones I can think of. The other kind of major big features in 4.1, so we've implemented full feature parity between the classic and Fluent UIs. So there's no reason to stick with PSADT v3 anymore. All of the functionality that we had in v3 is now available in v4, and I'll show you what that looks like. There's also, as part of this architectural change, you now have the ability to ask the user for input via text box, which again is a fairly big deal. The reason we can do that is solely because we have a secured architecture. Otherwise, if we were to ask for user input on a system level process, there's a potential of some sort of injection attack. So not something that you'd ever want to do. Other features that we've added in here are support for modifying the text on the messages. So we can display bold text, italic, and an accent. Yeah. So this is what our UI can look like. So we've changed the accent color here on the sidebar to being red. But essentially, actually, I don't have it on this screen, but I will show it in a minute. This is our feature parity. Essentially, we have automatic start countdown, deferrals by number of deferrals or by deadline. And we can enforce this action change. So if you want to change if you want to update the dialogues to match your corporate brand and the icon to essentially be your corporate logo, that can serve as your branding for your corporate branding. We can also change the dialogue positions, which is something that we used to have in V3 and we took away in V4. So now that's back. You can center the dialogue. You can put it top right, bottom right, wherever you want. Another fairly important change or fairly new improvement is essentially being able to administer all of the config settings through ADMX templates, so through group policy. This can be especially useful if you're migrating from 3 to 4 and you want to, migrating from classic to fluent user interfaces. So you want to keep your interfaces looking the same across all versions until you get from 3 to 4. And at a certain point in time, once you announce to your users that you're doing a switch over, the dialogues are going to change and that they'll see these updates going forward. You don't have to go and deploy out anything new. You can just change this through group policy. One setting will affect every package, and yeah, you're good to go. There's now full support for uninstall repair actions, something that we didn't have before. We did have support for all three, but we only actually displayed install in the dialog. It would never say uninstall or repair, and now that does correctly. And yeah, there's a couple of other interesting features there. I'm aware that I'm running a little bit long here, so okay. So I'm going to just pop open our deployment script here. I'll just show you what's being done. So one of the new items in 4.1, as well as the ability to close processes, is now centralized. So before you would have to do that in each section of your script, we can now just specify what applications you want to close right at the top, and they'll pop up in any dialogues or any closed programs dialogues. Just skipping down through some of these here. So this is essentially our deployment script. During this, I want to run an install. It'll prompt for information, which you'll see here. This is just a simple, again, asking for a server name. So that's something you might want to do during an install. I'll just skim down through here. During the install as well, I'm going to actually pop up a progress message. Something that we didn't have, we weren't able to do before, was change the actual percentage. It was always an indeterminate progress bar. We now have the ability to do that, and we could set a detailed status message if we want. And right at the end, I'm just going to pop up a dialog with 3 buttons, and then I'll pop up a central dialog as well, so a centralized dialog. So let me just go ahead and run this, show you what it looks like. Okay, so this is something where I've changed the accent color to green, because that's my corporate color. And I've got Spotify open, so it's prompting me to close that down. This will automatically run in 10 minutes time, and it'll close down Spotify for me if I haven't done it myself. And it could be deferred up to this number of times or up until this date. So you could potentially have a critical security patch that needs to go out by a certain date in order to meet your compliance needs, or you can have it appear within 3 deferrals. But the deadline date would then ensure that if anyone was out of the office for a period of time, they wouldn't then have like a dragging or a lingering deployment to occur. And as well as that, you can see here I've got the bold, italic, and accent text. So I'll just go ahead with this. You'll see Spotify got shut down. And the install's running. It's asking me for a server name because this is something I asked it for. I'll just leave it as is. Okay, so I said I wanted to prompt with something at the end. If I click OK on this, I should get one more dialogue, which should be center of the screen, I think. There we go. So yeah, that just shows off that you can put things wherever you want, and you can customize these to your heart's content. Something that was not as flexible in V4, but now is pretty flexible. So I guess, how does this all tie in with Patch My PC? So PSADT is something that we currently support in custom apps, and it's something that we will continue to invest in integrating with in the future. We're kind of working on a new Patch My PC cloud agent at the moment, or cloud deployment tool, and one of the things that we're going to be doing is integrating with the dialogues. So just as a quick little example, what that might look like, we'll be leveraging PSADT for dialogues within the latest version of Patchwork VC Cloud. And yeah, you'll have a fully Patchwork VC branded experience. As well as that, there is obviously going to be support for PSADT scripts within Patchwork VC Cloud. And I don't know when exactly we've got the support for that is coming. Wout, do you want to?
I said I'm not committing to dates. I'm not committing to dates. No dates. Okay. Soon.
Well, now would be a good time to pivot over to you anyway. So yeah, that's it for me.
Yeah, so what we're building is support in PatchMyPC Cloud for PSADT. So basically all of the PowerShell app deployment toolkit commandlets, both for version 3 and version 4, will be supported in PatchMyPC Cloud through Scripter. And we're also going to add a new branding option in PatchMyPC Cloud for the PSADT branding. It's a slightly modified version because you will be able to include your own logo, your own banner in there. But we're also upgrading that conflicting process notification UI to the PSADT version in there as well. And that's also soon, without an actual time.
Join over 8,000 organizations that trust PatchMyPC to keep 25 million devices up to date. It's secure, automatic, and built to scale. See for yourself. Click the link to book a live demo with a PatchMyPC engineer now.